What's going on, man?
It's been one of those weeks, you know.
I thought you were gonna say one of those days. You sounded like you were out of breath a little bit.
Well, I did run earlier. Went on a bike ride, and I wanted to show. You remember we were talking about birds?
Yeah. What do you got?
So check out So I told you there's a bird nest above our light.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the nest.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Have you taken any pictures? Like try to get them from the top?
No, I haven't gone up there yet. But like, what might happen during the next 30 minutes is that the bird might swoop over my head.
Would you now every time you sit down, does that bird fly away? Does somebody pop out of that net?
Yeah, and there's two of them. There's the dad and the mama, and they switch.
Do you get the dad coming in and feeding the mom by mouth? Have you seen that one yet?
I haven't seen it yet. Oh, there's the mom. Let's see.
We've gotten that a couple of times.
Can you see the mom down there?
I can see her. Yep.
Yeah, she's like a orange-breasted finch. I don't know. She's from the Galapagos, apparently.
That is awesome. So we've had this, and my wife, it brings her to tears, man, where the dad will come by, the mom's sitting there keeping the eggs warm, and she'll stick her little head out, and he'll feed her by mouth, and then the waterworks start. And then I showed her Danny Graves' video on Instagram. If you haven't seen it, it's worth going to check out, where he had ducks in a tree in his house.
What?
And they had 18 babies. And it was an amazing video because, he showed them as the eggs kind of multiplied. And then as they hatched and they were ready to go, they were probably, 5 or 6 feet in the air, maybe a little bit higher. And they just kept jumping out one by one. The mom and dad jumped down. They all jumped down one by one. He had to help a couple. And then you see him walking away in his backyard. He said they haven't come back. My wife was bawling. It was really cool. So
that's awesome.
Remember though, because she may be a watermelon mojito.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know what? I mean, that's like the best news all week. And I feel like at least we gotta recognize in general what a crappy week this has been.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Brutal.
From baseball to, I think we reached over 100,000 deaths due to COVID. What's going on in Minnesota? I've had some talks with my buddies. It feels like we're going backwards sometimes, CJ. And, I'm trying to educate and teach my children one very important lesson, which is to listen. And so this has been like a trying week. It's been tough in Denver. There's been a lot of protests right down the street, and we totally understand it. We get it. So, cheers to those that are out there, and we're here to listen. So absolutely, we appreciate you.
I had that conversation, sat down with my youngest a little bit because, and my wife, she's like, she just can't even watch the news. It stresses her out too much. And she's asked me to turn it off, but I was in there by myself and just my little guy, he started asking questions, those are, listen, they're not conversations you want to be having right now, but those are nice conversations to have to be able to hopefully get it right and teach your kids and show them, exactly what's going on, explaining everything, try to explain both sides of everything. What's been really bad, what we think has been good, what could be better, all that kind of stuff. And it was interesting to see them, especially at his age now, a little bit more just kind of, he was really interested. Kids are usually kids and they're doing their thing, but he actually wanted to absorb some conversation. So that was good. Nice, man. But I think, what I love about what we do in our job is hopefully, like we always talk about throughout COVID and everything else, that maybe we give you a little bit of time just to kind of relax and get your mind off of, what's going on in the world and get excited about the possibility of baseball, man. And I don't smoke too many of them. I wish I could, but I just don't. I pick my spots, but I pulled out a Cohiba today. It felt like a Cohiba Saturday night.
Nice.
From Cuba that Eric Nadel makes a couple of trips there a year. And I just have a handful of cigars a year, but he brought me one. And
I love that.
I am grateful for it, man. It's a nice way to wind down a Saturday night after what has been it's been tense, man. A really tense week going on, and you and I talked about the minor leaguers. I'm going to tell you something, man. So this is what I love about working with you. We kind of just, especially now since we're only doing 2 hours of loud outs, and we fly by the seat of our pants a little bit, but there's enough out there, and we just kind of go, right? That's one of the things I think that you and I gel on really well. I was a little concerned yesterday because I felt like I was a little frazzled when we were going, and when I uploaded Eric, our producer, all the files, I was like, hey man, I don't know, I kind of felt like I was all over the place.
Wow.
Might not have been our best show. We'll be a little bit more organized next week. And I got a couple of nice notes today from people just randomly. Like, hey, really enjoyed the show today. Even I talked to Eduardo Perez on the phone because he asked me to come. I'm going to go on for an inning when they do their KBO broadcast on Tuesday.
Are you really?
Well, I'm going to be up. So he's like, hey, because he knows, like, you don't want to ask guys to get up too early, but I'm doing leadoff spot that day. So he's like, hey, I know the show's at 8 live. Any chance I can get you on in the 7 o'clock hour? I'm like, of course, man. I'd do it for in a heartbeat. Now, if he asked me to come on at 5, it might take 2 or 3 heartbeats, but I still would have done it. But anyway, so he's like, man, good show today, which was kind of him to say. When cool. I felt like we're, maybe wasn't our best, but it's always encouraging when it's a couple of nice words, man. They go a long way.
I appreciate that. It's cool to hear. By the way, did you get a Nico-chan song like that? Did they do the dance?
So Nico-chan was Japan. So I don't remember if I had any specific songs, to be honest with you. The only time I would have had one probably was in Doosan. Maybe. I'm so bad. It's so brutal that I can't remember. I mean, I was locked in and I had a little bit of success when I was there pitching for that one of the 3 teams that I pitched for. But I don't remember if it was my name specific or not. I mean, I know it was already as a struggle as it was to have to say my name. Probably not fun for them as it was. It is what it is.
I do like that most of those dances incorporate some sort of like the what do they call it's like it's a gun, but it's not really a gun. I don't know. And like
it's definitely definitely not a real gun. They make it fun, man. They make it fun. Cheerleaders in baseball in the States haven't worked great, right? We see them in a couple of places. They'll have like, dancers or whatever, right? They have them in Houston. They have them in a couple other places. But the way
Are you kidding me? The Miami Mermaids were great. And do you remember the Miami Manatees?
Oh, from Matt Manti? Or is it just it had to do with him or no?
It was a group of guys that were the Marlins were like the few teams that had like an actual dance team. Not Arizona, but Atlanta had a good dance team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Atlanta had a good one a couple years ago. But you got to look it up. There was I think it was the Manatees, and it was a group of guys. There's probably about 8 of them. They were all dressed. They ranged in sizes. And
these guys in the stands, or were they actually working for the team?
I don't know if they were fans. I think it was like a fan dance group. Yeah, it was great.
And I think they were dudes, because you see it at football games, or you'll get groups of guys that do that kind of stuff in the stands. But my point was that because what they do there is they have a cheer master. It's a guy usually, is the head, like they call him the cheer master to go along with the cheerleaders, and they organize all that stuff. I mean, and they're not flying by the seat of their pants, man. That is like a well-oiled, organized machine, getting stuff, and the fans are behind them all. It's cool, man. I'm bummed that fans are not getting a chance to see that right now in the KBO games, because that is what makes, and they do the same thing in Japan. That's what makes it so cool. I would love to have that in the States, but we got people here that hate the wave. They don't want any organized cheering.
Are you okay? Are you a fan of the wave? Yes or no?
It's not so much that I'm a fan. I'm just not a hater.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
It's one of those places. I'm Sweden in this situation. I don't hate it. I get excited about it, but I'm not going to trash talk people that do it. Just like I'm not going to trash talk an adult who brings a glove to a game. Go for it. I feel like I see a lot of that. I'm like, hey man, go be yourself, have fun. You got the rest of the week and during normal hours where you got to be buttoned up. Go do whatever you got to do to enjoy your evening or enjoy your weekend. If you want to do the wave, do the wave. If you want to bring a glove, you want to wear a jersey, you want to go full uni. I'm not going to say a bad word about you ever, but there are people in our business that do, and I don't love it.
No, I will not be one of those guys. I'm not going to lie. I like the wave. I like any sort of fan engagement, even if it's the 8th inning with the game on the line and people aren't paying attention. I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. You're right. I love it when I see the guy bring his pancake, dust it out from his high school yearbook, and then I don't think it can catch anything. Like those things, it's lucky it doesn't actually like fall apart whenever somebody grabs it. And I'm with you. Like seeing a grown up in another person's jerseys makes Ben Barry, our former producer, kind of queasy, but yeah. I think it's great. It's great. Like come on. I think I have upstairs in my closet. And I'll share like a weird story that happened. So, I think I have Peyton Manning. I have Johnny Manziel. For years we would have fantasy drafts, right? And whatever the first round drafts, if we had 20 picks or 14 picks, we usually got the jersey of the best players in the NFL draft. So for the Rockies League, we had it for 4 years. So I have my 4 first-round draft picks. I think I have like a Des Bryant jersey somewhere. So anyways, I never was a big jersey wearer as a kid.
Yeah.
And there was one time my dad came out to see me in 2007. And I've already had a cup of coffee in the big leagues. I wasn't, and that was probably 2007 was my most productive year. But it was about August. My dad comes out to see a baseball game. He was like, "Hey, they're selling your jersey at the team store?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah." That's like a pretty cool moment as a big leaguer when you're like, "They're selling your jersey?" And I was like, "How many were?" There's like maybe 5. Yeah. So it's like a handful. And about 2 weeks later, the Rockies used to run this, basically a campaign for the fans would get a chance to vote for who they would want to get the jersey, the jersey.
Yeah.
And I was the guy that they picked for late August. Pretty cool moment as a big leaguer. And then so I had 25,000 people wearing a Spilborghs t-shirt right in the middle of kind of a playoff run with the 2007 Rockies, and like seeing 25,000 people in a t-shirt of yours, dude, that was crazy. Like that was cool.
That's awesome. It is fun. I never had that experience. I didn't sit in one place long enough, but that is a really cool thing. I wanted to ask you, I have a couple things actually lined up for tonight. I wanted to ask you. One, I don't know if you saw FP Santangelo's comment. We love FP, does a great job with the Washington Nationals, but MLB Network Radio tweeted out that clip when we were talking about doing some remotes during the season when the team's on the road, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was something we talked about on the show today, and where we're going to do the game. So we're going to sit in a studio, like in my case, where I sit in a studio in Texas and just call the games from Fox Sports Southwest Studios, which are in Irving, or we're not going to go to the team. We're not going to travel or go to the ballpark and do the games, even though the team's on the road. That's a possibility. I threw out the idea of doing the games from like a local bar and how fun that would be, because the atmosphere and everything else. He completely poo-pooed that idea. Like
he did?
Poo-pooing ideas. That's not one of my greatest traits, as my wife always says. I'm a spirit squelcher. But yeah, he said, he goes, let's go to a bar where the virus circulates in broadcast. Are you guys serious? That's the worst idea I've ever heard.
All right. We already said we were going to be behind a plexiglass case, so I feel pretty safe there.
Telephone booth. He only read the clip. It's like he only read the headline. I didn't hear the whole segment.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. I mean, for the most part, it's like, "Hey, man, I saw that quote that you had that says I'm brutal." And I was like, "Really? Did you see the whole thing? Did you read the whole thing?" Because the whole thing says, along the way, everybody's brutal. I mean, this guy's brutal when he plays on occasion, but he's not brutal all the time. I was like, so you're going to take one snippet of something that we said? No, get out of here. Yeah. I don't think it's the worst idea. I'm still, my wife and I were talking about it today. I was like, "Hey, when do you feel comfortable going, like, venturing in public?" Because she wants me to go to Home Depot to get some stains so I can stain the side of the fence. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Go Monday when there's nobody there." Yeah. So I mean, she would probably she would poop on it. Yeah, she would poop on your idea.
I'm not concerned. Like I said, we talked about it during the show, and you've got to be careful about being a little bit reckless. But right now, I'm not saying I'm throwing caution to the wind and not disrespecting other people's space, but it's been less and less here. We went to dinner last night. My daughter, I guess she technically graduated yesterday. She's been done with her high school stuff, and they did a drive-through. She has about a graduating class of just under 450, and so they did drive-through to pick up your diploma, right? So it took forever, man. It's like they had this whole they called it a parade route. It wasn't a parade, but you just had to line up, and we did fun stuff on the side of the car. Congratulations 2020, had a bunch of balloons, and she sat in the passenger seat in the front. It was nice because we were all together too. So my oldest son drove, my wife and I were in the back with my youngest, which was nice. We just don't get that kind of time where, especially with my oldest, that he can't stare at his phone. It was great. Right, so everyone's engaged in the conversation as we wait online to get her.
Oh, is that why you made him drive, so he wouldn't stare at his phone?
He offered. It was great, but that's what I'm telling you. That's a little trick for us. If you have a teenager who can drive, who's like phone addicted the way he is, and they like driving, he doesn't mind. If I'm like, "Hey, you mind driving?" no chance he's picking up his phone, and you have a good opportunity to engage in conversation. Because that's one of the things that gets lost, man, as they get older. And my other two are okay. My daughter, she's not phone addicted. She'll be like, I don't even know where my phone is, but my son is. And so sometimes, we'll just be sitting there and he'll pick it up out of habit. And we've gotten in arguments. I'm like, listen, man, what's on that phone more important than what I'm saying? And it's gotten heated a couple times, but he knows he's a little bit addicted to it. But anyway, we have those battles. But so he drove. It was great. But is mom there or dad back?
They're both back.
Nice. It's nice that they'll sit by you. But anyway, so we did that. And then here's what I was getting at. We went to dinner last night. We went to True Food, which is pretty cool for my daughter. That's where she wanted to go. And they did everything was spread out. Like tables were like every other table, if not more. It didn't feel crowded at all. But the area we were in is kind of like an outdoor mall place where they do, it's a use where there's hotel or there's apartments on top, or one of those little fun little places. It was pretty crowded. But I felt comfortable. I wasn't too concerned. Good. Yeah, so
that's good.
I'll be fine in Texas Live.
So next week, our son begins Little League practice. He has to wear a mask. They have the same rules that you guys are doing, and
mask while he's practicing.
Yeah, mask while he's practicing.
We did not do that.
My daughter is playing soccer next week too, so we're getting there, CJ. I mean, and what's really funny about how we got to this place was the attention to detail about what the soccer coach or baseball coach was going to do for practice, and kind of like spelling it out. Hey, we're going to do this 6 feet apart. Guys are going to wear masks. We're going to rub down the baseballs, whatever. I mean, I don't expect him to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like what we talked about with the baseball, the protocols and all the health issues.
Mm-hmm.
But for my wife, when she saw that, that the coaches were this attention to detail with something that's really important to us. It might not be important to our neighbor or to, another kid, but to us, if that email was going to be flippant, I was like, hey, we're just going to come out here and roll some balls out. There's no way my wife would have done it.
Yeah.
There was no way. And I wouldn't have signed off on it either, because I wasn't going to push the envelope, because happy wife, happy life.
Yep.
And so she read the email. She read it twice. And I could see her kind of looking at it. And she goes, Ryan, what do you think? You think it would be okay that Tatum plays baseball next week? And these are all the rules. And I was like, yeah, if they do that, yeah. Are you okay with that? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, yeah. But if that email was one misstep, that's why I think the 67-page protocol thing from baseball, even though is a little bit much, my wife would have signed off on that one. She'd been like, oh, okay, yeah, you can totally go play baseball.
Yep. And it's important for the coaches to do that. I know that, Michael Barrett runs our program and sits on top of the whole thing. And they, it was a really detailed, long letter. I almost felt like it was a little bit too much, but I think it was probably a smart way to do it. It's better to do more than to do less in those spots. I think it makes everybody feel better. We started out real slow, small groups. Once you're playing games for us, somebody asked me today, the idea of, are they social distancing in the dugout or keeping their space? No, they're not. That would be an impossibility. And it's just a matter of whether or not the parents were okay with it and making it happen. And I'm not as worried about the kids anyway. You know what I mean? We wouldn't want anybody's grandparent in there in that dugout, or anybody older. Even I talked to the umpire today. We had 2 games today. And I asked him, he was calling balls and strikes from behind the pitcher, asked him how he was feeling. Is it more comfortable? He's like, I like being behind the catcher. He's like, I'm 60 years old, so I'm right on the fence there. I want to be a little extra careful. I'm okay with it. I'm just glad the kids are out here playing. You know what I mean? And so everyone's and so he's taking his precautions. We're rubbing up the balls. The umpires don't handle them as much, and more out of, protect them if they're older, quite honestly. Not as about the kids, but you're right. That's the attention to detail. And it was interesting. Somebody actually sent I don't know if you were tagged in this one or not. Somebody sent one to a bunch of the people at MLB Network Radio. You were on this one, and asking about, if everyone's tested negative, coaches and staff are negative, all the sterilization, everything are going on, why can't guys give high fives? And so in fairness, because they don't have daily testing, I said that's just, to me, that's probably something that's going to be in there, but we'll see whether or not it happens. Hold on one second. You leaving? All right. Are you staying over?
Maybe. I don't know yet. I have stuff just in case, but I will let you know.
All right. Careful that wire when you run over it.
Was that Michael Barrett?
No. What you got?
Nothing. Are you live streaming?
Yeah, I am. Have a nice time. I love you. totally blew me off. Do you hear me? Because you're live streaming, and then shut it down as soon as I said that.
Yeah, he's out. He doesn't want people to hear that, and we didn't even know which one that was. For all I know, that was your.
Well, that's the 20-year-old because he's driving away, and he's going to hang out with a buddy. Which at the beginning of this, we wouldn't let him do it. He got really ticked off when he first got home from college. We were like, no, more because he's going to a buddy's house. The parents are there. I'm like, who else is going to be there? He was kind of like, you just talked about attention to detail. He was not the complete opposite. He's like, I don't know who's going to be there, how many people. I'm like, nope. He got pissed. But we did that for a while, and now a couple of people, and that's fine, and off they go. I didn't tell you this, but I told Steve. He blew out his shoulder, so he's been sitting around a ton, and so
Steve did.
No, my son dislocated.
Oh yeah. When he was on the bathroom,
Phillips leadoff spot. We were getting discouraged about how much he doesn't see. He tells me his problem sleeping, so he ends up sleeping late. He probably doesn't fall asleep till like middle of the night often, and sleeps in really late, and it was getting frustrating. So he kept wanting to play the PlayStation. We took it away. I said, dude, if you average 12,000 steps a day for the 5 days in the week, you can have the PlayStation over the weekend. And he was in, and he's doing it, and everybody wins.
It's like it's almost as if using technology. So I love that you brought that up, because I've been running way more, and so I have this. Usually, I'll just wear my Apple Watch, and then I'll run around the neighborhood. And the other day, the last 2 runs that I've had, this thing's malfunctioned.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for heart rate or for steps?
For distance, I want to know how far I go, because I'm goal oriented. So if I don't have a goal, I'm not going to do it. You either have to tell me I can't do something, or I have to have a goal. Yeah. Otherwise, my personality is I won't do it. I have to have a deadline. I have to have something to chase after. And so the other day, I felt like I ran for 32 minutes, which right now that's about 4 miles. Mm-hmm. And when I got back from my run, I looked at my watch, and it gave me 32 minutes, but it gave me credit for 1.7 miles. And I was fuming. I was pissed. I was like, no way. I was like, no, that's bull. I was like, that is BS. It's like it didn't count.
Yeah, that stinks.
So imagine your son's trying to get his 12,000 steps, and it only counted 5 of them.
Well, I would tell you, it felt like it went in the other direction. It was so funny because his younger brother is so skeptical, right? They're 8.5 years apart. So he's 12, and he gets on one day he went for a walk for a couple hours. One day he got on the treadmill, and it seemed like, he wasn't on the treadmill very long. But part of that is because when Megan gets on that treadmill, she's on it for like 2 hours. So anybody else that goes on it, just, you can kind of hear it in the background, because we brought it up to the, main level of our house, because our basement's unfinished and whatever, air quality and whatnot. So, and I was like, gosh, it didn't seem like he was on there very long. And I was like, man, how long did you go? He's like, about 45 minutes, about 9,000 steps or something. And my little guy's in the back going, there's no way he did that, but he got it done. And I appreciate the effort, and because I don't like him just sitting around doing nothing. But I'm with you. I'll tell you this. So along those lines, I can't remember which watch we got him, but so for as much as you're running, I'm surprised you're not using the Polar. Because they do your heart rate really well. Because
I doubled up. So I have the watch, and then I have, because I don't like to run with my phone. I think it's tired. Mm-hmm. And then I have this thing called a Whoop. You know what the Whoop is?
I don't.
So the Whoop is like a membership based, it's like a, hard to describe. But it measures heart rate volatility. You'll see a lot of major leaguers. They've been wearing these at spring training. It measures recovery. So
through your wrist?
Everything's
through your wrist, or is there another sensor you wear?
No, it's on the wrist. So
I don't trust heart rate through the wrist, man.
I know, but this one's
when they strap on your chest are amazing. I wish there was a better watch that they would attach to.
Well, that's why. Yeah, it's true. I agree. I think how can you get a heart rate when it's on your wrist and not on your heart? But this one, so it measures my sleeping. So I wear it to sleep.
Right.
So, and then at the end every day, it'll give me how much effort I put throughout the day, how much I worked out, how many steps I did. And then it gives me a recovery matrix. So I know tomorrow, I'm not going to recover very well. I'll recover, but based on what I've done over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And based on sleep, it'll say my recovery is at 25%. So it's like a good marker of knowing like when you can push it or when you need some rest. And the real reason why I wanted it was for broadcast when we were getting ready for season. I wanted to know if I was getting enough sleep from when we traveled or if I was getting home late after a ball game when I woke up. I wanted to see like my rate of recovery to see if how it translated towards broadcasting too.
Yeah.
But
matters,
whatever.
man. Those are things you figure out as a player, right? Like how hungry do you want to be? Like for me, I was like pitching on an empty stomach and little things like that, or what I did the night before. We didn't measure sleep the way that you could now. That's what's so amazing about the access, the stuff that these guys have as far as your preparation, everything that you can do. I mean, there's so many things to be envious of, right? The technology and everything else. But the idea of those kinds of things and what you can measure and where you are from a recovery standpoint and everything else is definitely high on that list, which actually brings me to another question. So anyway, point being, I would like to get a smartwatch, but I want one that if I'm exercising that I'm 100% confident in heart rate. So I love that Polar watch, but it only hooks up to my phone. Or the watch is really average. It's more like a runner's watch, and I can't.
There's a Phoenix watch that's really good. I think it's FENIX. Huh?
Does it have a heart strap?
It does have a heart strap. It's a smart watch. I almost bought that one.
With an F, you said?
FENEX.
I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. FENEX.
Yeah, I think that's it. And that one's really. I mean, it's like it's kind of like a triathlete's watch, smartwatch.
Oh, Garmin makes that one. Is that right?
Yeah, there it is. Garmin Phoenix, FEINX. Yeah, that one's the one that was recommended, and it kind of serves all the purposes that I think you would want.
All right, so
really accurate with their heart rate because I think it has a strap.
All right, so two things. One, you said that you don't like running with your phone, which I totally get. But remember when I mentioned that Lululemon fanny pack?
Oh yeah.
One. So Megan had one. Well, she's actually wearing it right now, right here. I got mine in the mail today.
Oh, nice.
Hers was too small for me, so your phone like fits in there perfect. So that is one option. And again, I know that you don't love. Can I see that real quick to show me?
Yeah, sure.
I know you don't love, remember I asked you like, was it masculine enough or whatever?
Don't make it small.
Yeah, I wasn't opposed to it.
But yeah.
Oh, that is like, yeah, that's long and
super thin, dude. It's
perfect.
Super thin, but it'll stretch a little bit too. So you slide your phone in there if you need to, and it'll stretch it out. So that's good for playing tennis and stuff too. Thank you. But here's the other thing. So that was one thing.
Sprint, like if you want to run hard and you're not holding.
Or if you want to do any sprints in the street, you do any sprints in the street? Megan has done sprints in the street.
But then if you
I think she was mad at me and she was like running in the street.
She just had to get it out.
That's sprinting in the street. But here's the other thing. So along the technology side, the blast motion and I got one today. And I got one for Luke because I wanted to see there's a couple things and try it out. And I bought it myself. They don't pay me to talk about anything, but it was pretty cool. So I played with it today. I'm going to play with it with him, and we'll see. But I'm going to show you one of these videos and some of the stuff that I think there's a lot of tech in there that you probably don't need. But I mean, that is a simulation of my swing that I took off the tee today. With this,
so you're doing the high tee today or what?
That's high tee. That's yes. Look at that swing path, buddy. I mean, that is tremendous. Look at that point of contact. And then they give you all these numbers. Now, I think some of them would be overwhelming for the average parent. Some of them are overwhelming for me as far as which one matters. I got this one because I thought it was a little bit more inexpensive. It was a little bit cheaper than the Blast. What they do is they also get you on, like, you get 14 days free, and then they want a year subscription. This one's only
same with the Whoop. Whoop gets you on the membership.
Only about I think it's $5 a month or whatever. But there's a ton of numbers. All right, I'll be honest with you, a little bit overwhelming. Maximum barrel speed, impact momentum, approach angle, trigger to impact time. That was one I was interested in for Luke, because I'm assuming that means as soon as he starts, like how quick do you get to the ball? Because that's a conversation we're having right now because he's getting outside, like we talked about.
Did you try it? Did you try the resting the bat on his shoulder for a round?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? What happened with that one? Did it shorten it up or?
No, here's the thing. Yeah, he'll do it every time. I think it's just come game time. And I don't know if he's trying to load up or what's going on. So it's probably more mental than physical.
Yeah, he's just geeking up.
Yeah, we just got to kind of continue to do that stuff. But it was pretty neat. Like I said, some of these metrics are things that I have to kind of get well versed in, or at least understand them. But it's cool. I think it's a cool little thing. There's some gimmicky stuff out there. I know, no doubt. But I think this one actually might have some value because your kids are visual learners. And then you can actually just do a regular video, which I haven't done. And then they'll take the numbers and they'll show him, and you can do side by side. You tell them how old, and they'll tell you where you should.
Yeah, it's cool.
Changes. So,
there was so a couple years ago, I had the blast for golf because I was trying to get a little bit better at golf, and I have to admit, like there was times where this thing would tell me I took a perfect swing and I scalded it and almost killed someone next to me, and then I do like a half swing, and it's telling me my swing's dog poop. And I just striped it right down the middle. I'm like, maybe my swing's better off looking like Barkley and less like Ernie Els, because of the result is, right down the fairway. So I don't know. There's times where I love this stuff because it's true. I think there's like the technology is like a benefit, but then there's also, if I'm getting a result and I'm hitting the ball like squared up right down the middle. But the blast is telling me my swing stinks. I'm like, does it stink? Like, does it really stink? Because I'm pretty sure I just squared it up.
So I'll tell
right down the middle.
I'll tell you a real life story with a big leaguer I was talking to, one of the guys on the Rangers 2 years ago. And he was having a pretty good year, but we were up in Seattle. He wanted to go check out kind of what they do at Driveline, right? And so they'd captured some numbers on him, but hadn't seen him throw yet. Walks in the door, sits down with a guy, and he's like, hey, listen, your slider, based on what I've seen, you probably need to get rid of it. And when he's telling me the story, I'm going, what? I'm like, dude, that's one of your best pitches. I watch you pitch. I call your games. He goes, oh, I know. He's like, and then we had the conversation. He saw the numbers, and then we threw a few, and it's like, okay, never. Because then, of course, this guy explains, listen, that's kind of a go-to pitch for me. I've had some success with it. If they're talking about, well, the spin efficiency isn't there, the right tilt, or whatever numbers they saw, spin rate, and they put it all together, and their first conclusion is that it's probably not that good of a pitch, especially at the big league level. And I'm like, we all know that's not true because we've seen it. And so there's the combination of where kind of what you were saying, those numbers are not always going to be there, which makes me worry about younger players as far as controlling your data when you're an amateur, right? If college recruiters are seeing some of that data, but they haven't seen you in person, are certain things going to get blown off because the data doesn't always tell the story? Like, data is great, but don't rush to conclusions just because spin efficiency or spin rate or whatever you're looking for doesn't line up to what you think would be somebody that fits in your program or the kind of arm or whatever it could be that you could use. So there's definitely a danger in there. It'll always be the combination of both. I mean, that's where we're at. We've had that conversation for a while, but I was blown away by a kind of a leader in the industry looking at his data alone and saying, I got a story for you. That pitch stinks. And he's like, I got a story for you. That pitch is really good. It's been good for me in the big league.
Confirmed. He has a strikeout per 9 on that pitch at 11.5. That's like top 5 in baseball and sliders. Yeah, it's like, come on. I agree. I mean, I think at the end of the day, CJ, no matter what, is regardless of what data is telling you or even seeing a result, it's how do you build confidence by doing the work.
Yeah.
Because you and I both know, like, if we didn't have this crazy confidence, even if we knew, like, you get your butt kicked, you had confidence that prevented you from stopping. That's, for whatever it's worth. Sometimes I don't need, like, this is my last week of class for grad school, right? I'm going to finish up the spring quarter. So I got a couple of papers that I have left to write. But if I get an A or a B, that's not going to take away from the fact that I'm learning and that it's making me understand business better. And if I don't get, if I don't get the result of an A, it doesn't mean I didn't put in the work. I was putting in 20 hours of work per class.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't need an A to verify the amount of work that I did. I feel confident because I put in the work, but I don't always need the result. It'd be nice if I get an A. Hell yeah, that's sweet. An A in grad school, that's sweet. But I'm realizing, and I think you feel the same way, sometimes an accolade or having somebody tell you, like, man, that's really good. We don't really need to hear that all the time because we're I think we're self-motivated. We do like the pat on the back, but I don't need a blast motion, or I don't need a coach to go like, dude, that was really good, or that was bad. I was like, save it. I know what I did,
Yep. And the opposite can be true. I think with the kids, it's a challenge because as much as this has been an annoying catchphrase, process is important, right?
Sure.
Even though it's like we just want results, like we just want to win, we just want to hit the ball hard, whatever it may be, we want to hit 350, whatever. But with kids, it's particularly difficult because they are so results orientated. You know, there'll be times where they may hit a ball hard and they're okay with it, but an out's an out to them, and they'll take that dribble or hit and be like, I got to hit, right? And trying to balance that as they get a little bit older. When they're young, of course, doesn't matter. I'm at that stage now with him being 12, and as we get a little, go to the full field here pretty soon, and if he's serious about wanting to play in high school and maybe hopefully college, how hard you push on that. Like, you don't want to crush his spirit because he got a hit, but at the same time, listen, dude, you swung at a first pitch changeup that was a ball, and it was off the end of the bat, and it happened to go over the third baseman's head.
A hit's a hit. A hit's a hit. You can never you can't criticize me when I get a hit. You're gonna have to pick something else. And just like if you hit a line drive and you're like, it's a good swing out, you're like, you could tell me I did everything right, but I'm gonna go like, I didn't get a hit.
Yeah. So even though I got Mark McGuire out and he pretty much knocked Derek Bell over with a 150 mile an hour line drive to right field, you're out. That is an offer. I got it. Yeah, by the way, I read that article that you sent me. I think that'd be a good one for us to talk about next week. Just
sounds crazy, right?
How certain teams can leverage and certain teams can't, and which makes this whole thing interesting. About we look at some bigger money teams, say like the Angels, great television contract, great fans. They're making some tough decisions. Not surprising that the A's are a team that doesn't have good cash flow and can't pay the rent of released minor leaguers. But yet the Royals, man, how about the Royals? Since we did the show, and Dayton Moore is an unbelievable human being. I think you've seen all the things said about him. I had some experiences with him in the Braves, but when he was there, and just tremendous human being. But the idea that he's putting those people first. Did you see his quote about why they're paying their minor leaguers all the way through? And he's like, I get it. Most of these guys are I'm paraphrasing, but they're never going to get to the big leagues. Some of them are never going to get out of rookie ball or A ball. But these are the guys that are going to go back and coach. They're going to coach in high school. They're going to run an academy. They're going to coach maybe even in college. And their experiences here need to be good because they're the ones that are promoting the game and keeping the game going at the grassroots level. I was like, dang, dude, that is really insightful. And so they make that decision to still go ahead and pay those guys. And think about this. You got an owner that just came in and paid a lot of money for that franchise. Or they just laid it out there where they make decisions, and you can't make them all this way. But based on people, but then also he looked at it as future of the game. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was my favorite thing. The best part of this week was Cap because of Dayton, and he's right. I mean, it's who was it that we heard a story where it was like, who was it that told it? Was it where somebody shook hands with was it Carl Yastrzemski? And he's like, man, that's a good grip. Like that's a big leaguer's grip.
Sparks telling us a story about Stan Musial.
Okay, so Stan the man.
Yeah.
Okay, so just that, like understanding that little moment, what it meant for Steve Sparks.
Yeah.
And he's Dayton's right. Yeah, so the story was he was a kid. He had a chance to meet Stan the Man Musial, and shook hands with Stan the Man. And Stan's like, "Oh wow, that's a big leaguer's grip." And Sparky said from that point on, he was like, "I could be a big leaguer."
Yeah,
like it's stuck in his mind that he's like,
12, 13 years old. He was young.
Yeah, he was like, I think he was younger than that. Yeah. Like, so that small gesture. The gesture of, there's a good chance Dayton's right. One of those minor league guys could be a future GM, could be a future business owner, a CEO, the next head coach at Vanderbilt, right? Like he could be somebody that's going to impact. Maybe he's going to be a coach that brings baseball back to Bowling Green a couple of years from now, right? Like he could be one of those guys. You don't know. And he's right. Like imagine being one of those kids right now that was with Oakland. And I think that, not to just pile on Oakland, but I will for a second. If you're going to furlough minor league guys where they can't even get a chance to like just release them, you telling me that's a good experience for them?
That should be illegal. The idea that you can stop paying them, they can't leave. Like if you and I get furloughed in a job, and it's different, we're loyal to our teams. We get a regular job and you get furloughed. If you can find another one, you go take that one. I mean, that's the way that works. You're furloughed, you still get benefits, which I didn't say anything because I saw this tweeted a few times, but I thought it was incorrect. I keep hearing from people like, oh, they're still gonna pay the minor leaguers so they can have benefits. When you get released as a minor leaguer in the middle of the season, don't you get your insurance for another 4 months, and then you have the option to Cobra after that?
I think so. I don't think it stops right away.
A lot of people have been saying, and it's fine. It's it's a nice thought, but I thought it was inaccurate unless things have changed. I remember, I continue when you're a big league, you're on the 40-man roster. Once you come off, you have the option to still carry the big league insurance if you have a certain amount of service time.
I think it goes to the end of the season. So the problem is if there is no season, then there is no benefit.
Maybe that's what it is. Man, that could be possible. I was surprised to read that multiple times, which made me think if multiple people are saying it, it's probably true. Like reliable guys, but it seemed different. I always remember thinking for guys that got released, you had a couple of months at least on your insurance, and then you had a decision on whether you wanted to cover what they were offering or just go find something else. With the big league insurance, there's a lot of misnomers out there, right? People think that one day of service time you get big league insurance for life, or if you have 10 years service time. None of that is true. The medical insurance, if you want to continue to carry it, you pay for it. They offer different options and lower options, and I've continued to do it. There's been a couple of times where it was getting a little expensive, and I thought about making a change. But once you get off it, you can't get back on unless you get on the 40-man roster, which is not going to happen. I'm not getting on anybody's 40-man roster, or if you coach as well, which is probably not going to happen either.
Yeah, unless somebody offers you a first base coach.
Yeah, well, I told you about my dream that I came back to Japan as a hitter.
Yeah, how can let's see. If you did have a dream job at the major league level and you wanted to not have the pressure seat.
Yeah, bullpen coach.
Bullpen coach?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get fired quickly. You know what I mean? Like those guys sometimes take the brunt of it. Base coaches, bullpen coaches, when they're not going to fire their manager, but people feel like heads need to roll or they need to make some kind of change. Bullpen coach seems to go. But to me, that's the only position I wouldn't want to be a pitching coach. I don't think I'm qualified to do it. And it's way more work than it's ever been.
You don't think you could hide with the bench as a bench coach?
I could hide. Yeah, I could hide, but there's more qualified people than me. But
I think
the only job
first base coach has to be great. Like that's the good one. Third base coach, third base coach, way too much pressure.
A lot of pressure, and you only get booed. You only get booed for bad waves, right? You never like, oh, what a great wave. We'll say it when we're watching the game, like, wow, it was a great. Tony Beasley's amazing instinct there to go ahead and make that call. It's a tough one, whatever. But who was it that I don't know who was coaching third when, and I don't remember what game was it when two guys got thrown out of home plate. I just saw it this week. They were playing it.
On the same play.
Yeah, because Paul LaDuca was catching, and I think I can't remember if he was with the Mets or I think he was with the Mets. I think they threw the Dodgers at home plate. Yeah, because JD Drew was the second one. I don't remember who the first one was, so maybe it was the Braves. It might have been like a Braves-Mets game. Somebody got thrown out of home, but he was like 10 feet behind him, and he got thrown out too. And LaDuca didn't realize he was coming because the one tag went to the left, and then JD Drew came the other way. That guy probably got beat up a little bit. I don't want that pressure, man. That's too dangerous.
Yeah, way too dangerous. All right, I got to get going. My kids are in the backyard by themselves. They've been in the backyard. I have some homework to do. I'm hopeful this week's gonna be a lot better than last week.
You got IP all week, right? Every day, and then we'll have loud outs.
No IP Monday. The first day off in a long time, so I'm gonna soak it up. And we get the trailer this week, so I can't wait for next week. I'm gonna take you on a tour of the trailer. We're gonna do
video
happy hour within the trailer.
Oh, that is fantastic! I love that. Let's definitely do that. And I got loud outs Tuesday and Thursday, or leadoff spot Tuesday and Thursday. And Tuesday, Eduardo convinced me I'll be on ESPN with him doing an inning sometime in the 7:00 Eastern hour, telling Korean stories for everybody.
So let's see. That means I got to wake up at 5 a.m. Good chance I'll miss that.
It's finals week, buddy. You got to get that. You got to get that work done. You got to go Monday. Take advantage of your off day.
Class on Tuesday, class on Thursday, and then done.
Oh man.
First quarter grad school done.
That's awesome, man. I'm proud of you.
All right, buddy. Be safe.
All right, man. I'll talk to you during the week.
Let's see if the bird's up there.
Don't get too close. I've got yelled at for getting too close to the birds before.
All right.
I almost killed one, and Megan almost divorced me.
Oh yeah, you can't get. Well, if that's don't kill a bird.
Yeah.
Unless of course you want the result.
Yeah.
All right. See you, buddy.
See you, man.